All right, I'm so glad you called. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, you guys are still here. Thanks for hanging on. I really appreciate it. We are so excited at Dead Ringers to be here today live. And as many of you may know, my friends, my enemies, my new friends, I'm Nikki Wiedemann with Dead Ringers, and I'm a first call facilitator with our organization. And what we're here to do today is kick off our series debut of our live webinar series. And our first topic is Cringeworthy Calls. Now, a little caveat here. These are not actors portrayed in audio clips. These are real calls that we've recorded. So my goal today is to play a few of these calls for you and kind of dissect each of them as we go through. So before we get started, Dead Ringers, we are a call evaluator company. What we do is focus at first in the death care profession. And oh, I just love that picture. I asked marketing to take that double chin out and they wouldn't do it. So anyway, but that's how I have felt literally about some of the calls that we've listened to and recorded in our secret shopping. I don't necessarily like that term, but we do call on businesses and see what kind of results we get as we call in. So we are starting to invite folks outside of the death care profession to take a listen to what we're dealing with, because we feel the concepts are really universal in any business. So today with Dead Ringers, we're going to play a few of those recordings and how you might improve on those. And we are sticklers for data, so we do everything in an objective manner. And one of my colleagues, Mandy Hungerland, she's here with us today. She's responsible for building these dashboards for us that really help a business take a look at where they score from a business or phone etiquette perspective. So at the end of the call, feel free to jump onto our website. It's deadringers.co to get a little more information. We'd love to talk to you further about it. My other colleague and partner in crime is Paula Masters, very well known throughout the death care profession. So he's here with us today too. And they're helping me man the chat. So we really would appreciate any kind of feedback along the chat. Feel free to answer any questions that you have. My goal today is to make this fairly short. It's beautiful here in Cincinnati, so no one wants to have to sit in a long webinar, especially with hearing me ramble on. But so my goal is 15 to 20 minutes today. And I hope that you cringe throughout these calls too. I don't want to be all Pollyanna about this. I am really on a mission to help us do better on the phone. And this is the last time I'm going to mention it, but with COVID, phones are so much more important to our business now, more than ever, in connecting with families. If we've had the unfortunate opportunity not to be able to sit down with folks face to face. So we're going to be real high level today. One key thing we'll focus on is actually how you answer the phone. I shouldn't have to be telling folks this, but this is what we're going to focus on. Having a meaningful conversation would be the second part of that. So answering the phone, having a conversation, and then ending the call. So really, really high level stuff. And we hope that you'll find what we discuss here today to be really helpful to get you started in thinking about how well you're utilizing the phone with your staff in your facilities. So I have this gal that I've fallen absolutely in love with. I first learned about her in the early 90s, and her name's Nancy Friedman, and she's my idol. And she truly is a guru when it comes to using the phone. And this is my favorite quote of hers, and it is, if there's a phone on anyone's desk, they should be trained to use it. And what I like to do is to have folks consider, think of your office, think of your business, doesn't matter what kind of business you are. And if you were to shut your eyes and imagine all the phones throughout your facility, who's picking them up, and what happens when a consumer or someone calls into your business and they answer that phone. So it's not just necessarily maybe you have a welcoming staff, a call center that folks call into, and then maybe those calls get dispatched. If anyone has a phone, they should be trained to use it. So with that being said, we'll get into kind of the components of the call today. And as I mentioned earlier, there's three things we'll be focusing on. One's the introduction or the initial answer. Secondarily, we'll have what happens once you get into a discussion or conversation with folks Again, keyword conversation. And the third piece then is how you end the call and how important it is not only to have that first impression with the introduction, but a lasting impression with the closing. Okay. So we're going to kind of do this like America's Funniest Home Videos. You may have seen that, where there's a contest for here are 3 videos and which one's the best. So we're going in reverse order. So from bad to badder to the baddest. Excuse my grammar there. But and what I'll do is after each call, just spend a couple minutes, maybe not even that, talking about what could the folks answering the call done better. Okay. So take a listen. These are recorded calls. We are protecting the innocent here, so no names are being used. And we'll get started. So Mandy, let's play our first call.
Answering service, this is Paul.
Yes, I was trying to get a hold of the funeral home. Are they not open today? Or?
They might be in the office. They just have it assisting with their phones.
Okay, that was a really short snippet of an answering service and how they take calls, especially those within the death care profession. And my thoughts on this, and as you guys have taken a listen to it, it sounds as if they don't know what's going on. And again, if this was someone who had lost a loved one, she had to ask, are they even open today? And one thing I like to point out is we don't prompt our dead ringers, the folks that make these calls, to ask many questions, but this, think of a typical consumer that would call into your business. And if you do use an answering service, shop that answering service and make sure that they are using the expectations that you have when you turn on the phones. I know that that's a term that I've heard quite a bit throughout the profession. So if you're using an answering service, again, it's that very first impression. Make sure they represent who you are as a business. Alrighty, here's our second.
Hello?
Hi, I'm calling about the Memorial Park.
Okay. Yeah.
So our caller here called into this was a cemetery business, and they simply answered the phone, hello, did not state the name of their business, and asked the question regarding the Memorial Park, and kind of the answer was, yeah, well, so again, greetings are so important. And we hope as you answer the phone that you're taking serious consideration in what you're doing to represent your business once that phone rings and you pick it up, okay? And then here's our number 1 audio.
Our office hours are Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We are closed each day for the lunch hour from 12 to 1 p.m. If you know the 3-digit extension of the person you are calling, please enter it now or make your choice from the following options. To dial by name, press 1. For a listing of staff, press 4. For our department directory, press 5. To leave a message in the general message center, press 0. For the administration department, press 1. For the finance department, press 2. For cemetery inquiries, press 5. For the planning department,
invalid entry. Please try again. Invalid entry. Please try again. Invalid entry. Please try again.
Okay, I know you probably hate the automated system as much as I do, and it's not just death care, but businesses in general. I'm trying to do a move from our home, and I have called several moving companies, and the menus are so long, and I'm sure you've done that as well. But I don't know if you realize what happened at the end after probably was 20 options that we pressed a button and we got an error. So if you are using an automated system, imagine the frustration, especially if a loss has occurred, to have to listen to that plethora of a menu and then to press a button and not get anywhere. So I personally am not a fan, nor do I endorse any kind of automated system. And I know we hear it a lot. I would love to talk to a live person. So if it is necessary, and maybe the size of your organization warrants this type of system, but having one or two options, I think, is about as much as I personally would tolerate. So again, if you are using it, shop your own automated system and make sure that that's working. And also 3-digit, extension numbers, all of that, it's just not appropriate for the death care profession. Okay, so that was our look at that as far as the first part of the call. Moving here on to the next. So getting to an actual conversation with someone, and this is really where the meat and potatoes of every call happens. And getting past that first hurdle and really welcoming folks into your business. Think of it that way. Do you treat folks on the phone the same way you do when they step foot into the building? And creating a conversation really helps you to take a relationship with a caller and a consumer, a family that you serve to the next step. So we really find that open-ended questions are important. We focus on this really for a large chunk in the training that we do when we meet with folks, whether we do online training or in-house training. That hasn't been happening too much lately because of the situation we're in. But that being said, building a conversation, not just necessarily reading through what's on our first call sheet when folks call in. I literally have heard calls where they read the price list. So just think of creating a relationship versus answering basic clinical questions, okay? So we'll get started with our call here.
Are the prices on your website as well?
Okay, all that's included in it. There's no like hidden,
Okay, this is one of the very first calls that we placed with Dead Ringers back almost 5 years ago when we got our start. And I'm like, I've been around the profession 30 years and we do a wonderful job, and it made me feel happy. And when this call came across our evaluation, I'm like, you know what? We do need the help, and I feel really good about what our mission is to help firms. So this particular gentleman used a curse word as a part of discussion with someone that called in regarding pricing, and to me, it was kind of maybe a subtle ding to his competitor. That's really not appropriate in this kind of situation. So again, these are real calls, folks. And I just want you to keep in mind, especially for our owners and managers out there, do you know what's happening when you're not looking, and how folks approach families on the phone? So this was absolutely not a conversation starter. It was a conversation ender. Okay.
And does he have a pacemaker?
No.
Okay. And about how much does he weigh?
I would say about 160 maybe.
Okay. And do you anticipate the death to occur in a residence, a long-term care facility, or a hospital?
It makes me sad for the caller that these types of questions are being asked on the phone. If I am experiencing a loss, in this situation, it was an imminent situation, and these types of questions, I think, just are more appropriate in a face-to-face discussion. Absolutely no empathy. And if you heard the gal taking the call, it's almost like a sing-song sound in her voice. Okay. I was telling Paul and Mandy as we heard this call a few months ago, it's like she's taking an order for a pizza. So again, creating a relationship with families. And a lot of the folks that we work with, we do focus on the cremation call. And it's almost like night and day in how a funeral home will address a family that's interested in a traditional burial versus a cremation. And I think we've struggled with this for years and years. And we have a call coming up that will kind of hit on that will make my point a little more valid. But again, for our profession, empathy is so important, and we're just not seeing it. And again, I told you that we're really serious about our data. And I want to say less than 10% of the time is there any acknowledgement that a loss is occurring or a loss has occurred as folks are calling in. So if anyone should be giving condolences and messages of caring, it's just not happening.
You're probably looking at around 7 to 10,000, depending what you want.
7 to 10,000. Okay. And roughly, what would that be coming with? Okay. No problem. Okay.
I have to hang my head. I almost want to cry every time I hear this call. But this particular gentleman took a consumer call while going through a drive-through, talking about services they offer. And he was at A&W, I found out, because they're the ones that serve a mama burger. But talk about total lack of respect for the person calling in. And I've had some folks, throughout the time that I've been working with Dead Ringers saying, well, do you think maybe the folks that are calling in know that these are secret shoppers? And I'm like, it doesn't matter if they're secret shoppers or not. You can't take that chance, and you should always want to provide good service no matter what the situation is. So I think a good way that this gentleman could have handled this call is just say, I'm having my lunch right now. I am at a drive-through, being genuine, being gracious. Thank you for calling. Can you give me just 5 minutes and I will call you back right away? So that would have been a much better outcome, asking for permission to make that call back instead of the situation we had there. And he didn't even ask for permission to say, can you hold on a minute? I mean, it was really just no empathy there. So what we're trying to help folks understand in this particular situation is, again, in that last call, showing empathy. And it's just simply lacking in this particular example. So there are great ways that we connect through families simply by asking open-ended questions. And one of my favorite is, have you ever had to make arrangements before? And that really gets you a spot where you can get your feet on the ground with the family and move from there. So again, we've talked about the introduction, how important it is to connect, make that first impression, having that conversation, and having a meaningful discussion. And then we want to have them loving us at the end. So closing the call, and we'll be close to getting wrapped up here. And we have 3 recordings for you here as well, and how you would not want to end a call. And then I'll give you some pointers about that too.
And then the prices that I'm giving you too is that the person is average size. When I say average size, if they're not obese, because if they're obese, they have to go into a wider casket.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is with the weight discussion. Again, putting ourselves in the consumer's shoes, these aren't necessarily things that we want to think about. But what I want to point out here is that's how we ended the call. He just hung up, didn't say goodbye, answered, really was just talking, didn't answer many of our questions. And obviously we've shortened some of these calls just for our discussion with you today, but not even ending with a simple goodbye, again, showing that lack of empathy. So how you end the call can be just as important as how you begin the call.
Do you sell urns?
Yes, we do.
Do you have them like on display that if I were to come look that I could come in and see them?
Absolutely.
Okay, and like a variety of them?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, he did say goodbye. But we got absolutely nothing out of that call. And for those of you listening, I hope you are cringing, like the missed opportunity that this particular gentleman had to invite the person in. And again, Paul and Mandy and I, we'd like to have discussions around, what we could do to make these calls better. And a simple question is, well, why are you calling about urns today? Has a loss occurred? Or, is it something that maybe you lost someone, a while back and you're trying to do it the best way of memorializing them. So again, those open-ended questions, and the silence in this particular call makes me want to fill it, if you know what I mean. So ending with a closed-ended answer to a question gets you absolutely nothing. So, if you are offering services, get folks in, or provide a catalog, send them to your website so they can see all of the great things that you would offer.
If you're looking to go with the least expensive, which obviously most people are, I can tell you that we are not the cheapest. I can tell you that probably, I can't remember the name of it. It's over funeral home, but they have a separate business that handles cremations, and I think I remember someone saying that they charge like $8.95.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to be perfectly honest with you. We are not the least expensive. So
Yeah, well, thank you for passing that along. I will definitely look into that.
yeah, and it's that runs it, but it's not called. I mean, they have a funeral home and all, but it's a different business that they run, and if you call, you can ask them what their cremation company's called that does that for a lot less.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye bye.
I've heard this particular call probably 100 times, and it still makes me want to scream. However, he was very nice as he ended the call, but he closed the call by sending it to his competitor. And again, this was someone asking about cremation. At the very beginning, he mentioned, people choose cremation because of price, and she mentioned nothing about price earlier in the call. And so in my opinion, and I give a lot of those, you can take them or leave them, is that he just didn't want to deal with the cremation consumer. He became lazy. He passed it off to someone else. And really there was an opportunity there for him to connect with someone who maybe wanted a meaningful service along with this, but he went straight to price and passed it on to his competitor down the street. So that is not the way to close a call. So that being said, just a little bit about closing. Always, again, provide a call to action. Thank them for calling you. So glad that you thought of talking to us today and that you called in. What other questions do you have? So again, opening up the discussion with folks. And if they do have other questions, giving them your direct line, things like that. We have to create work to make something meaningful. And then an action item, as I mentioned before, I'm going to send you our price list via email along with some other brochures and material I think that you might find helpful. Other things that you can do is, again, send them to your website. I know I've seen lots of beautiful websites out there. Make use of them. So, feel free to visit our website. It's deadringers.co, and we have lots of great information out there regarding the services that we offer. And you know what? Is it okay if I follow up with you in just a couple of days? Because you may have some questions that come up along the way. So that kind of closing to a call is a lot more meaningful than just bye or no greeting in closing at all. So those are the kinds of things that we're hoping that we can help you with along the way as we provide these webinars in the future. Now, again, this one was really high level. That last closing snippet that we heard, I could do an entire probably 2-hour class just on that particular call. So we're hoping to dive in and get into some really meaty subjects and specific subjects. And we do have a webinar that's coming up in a month. So that's our goal. In November is to have another webinar, and the specific subject will be the science of the hold. And so that's on Thursday, November 12th at 2 o'clock. You can register for the webinar at deadringers.co/cringeworthy, and we'll work through some things about the hold. And again, I want to apologize profusely about the technical difficulties we had, because this is something I've experienced as I've worked with clients, is that the transfer and the hold and the equipment That's just as important, and we practice. Believe me, you just never know what's going to happen. But to be comfortable with your equipment is really important. So I really appreciate you working through with us on that particular piece. So we do have, again, the chat feature out there. If you had any questions, we'll try to maybe get to those later. And we'll be following up with an email. And as we get started with our new webinar series, we'd really love to see if you have specific topics or things that you'd like for us to hit on in future episodes. If you're not afraid to get on screen, we'd love to have you as a guest so you can share maybe some of the things that you learned. I find I learn through others, and whatever we can do to share the love within our profession and professions outside of death care, absolutely fabulous. So again, thanks for your help today in welcoming us to this live webinar world. Really happy to be here. Dead Ringers has been a great company to work with, and feel free to reach out to Paul, Mandy, or me. Our email is info@deadringers.co, and love to have you join us. And maybe by the next call, I'll have lost 30 pounds and we can retake this picture and my big double chin won't be there. No, but we have a lot of fun here, and we'd love to see you on our next webinar, and we will do everything we can to get past those technical difficulties as I spit that out. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.